heartfelt namaste. I, Anuradha, would like to thank all of you for liking, subscribing our YouTube and Spotify channels. If you haven't subscribed to our Spotify channel, please do, so that you can listen to all the videos in the audio form anytime, any place. From a number of our subscribers, we have been having a request of writing on, of making a video on writing. Writing is a creative part of life. And there are many people who love to pen their thoughts, their ideas. So let's begin on a journey about understanding how we can plot whether we are competent writers with respect to our kundalini and with respect to our natal charts. And does it show that a promise of us gaining name and fame in writing? Does it also show whether we are good writers, whether we are good creators? When we talk about creativity, we have to take into account the third house and the fifth house. Why so? So when we are talking about the houses of writing, the third house gives us the creative ideas because it is our subconscious mind. It also reflects our arms and hands. So the ability to put our ideas on paper or virtually is seen by the third house. Again, creativity is the third. Mercury, which is the lord of the third house in the natal chart, reflects that creativity. And the third house is also perseverance, persistence. So when what we see, what we hear, what we understand, and how we process it can be seen from the fifth house. The fifth house becomes very important. We need to be persistent. We need to be timely. We need to do it at a particular time every day. And we have to be very strong in our application of that writing or any effort that we make. That is why the house of efforts, the third house, becomes again very important in writing, because we have to make regular efforts in that area. Then we talk about the fifth house. The fifth house talks about not just writing, because it is the third to the third, it also talks about publication. When we write something which we want to share it with people, we have to have the ability to publish it. Otherwise, that is just for pure self gratification that we're doing that work. And the fifth house also gives us a platform to stand because it makes us known through people. Again, the fifth house is the house of being very vocal, being very articulate, and knowing how to give your ideas, your intelligence a shape. So when we're writing, we understand how to progressively put things in a form, in a structure, and that is seen because we are using our intelligence in a proper manner. And that can be seen with the fifth house. So publications, intelligence, application of that intelligence can all be seen from the fifth house being another important house for writing. Then if I have to write something which has to go commercial or which has to go in the public, or if I have to take up writing or any of the creative arts, there's a need to have a strong 10th house associated with the third or the fifth house. Only then would we be able to put it on a commercial standing. So the 10th house in that case, for people who want to take their creativity to a professional level, has to be associated with the third and the fifth houses and connected, because the 10th house is the house of profession. The 10th house is the house of progress. It is the house of getting known in your profession, and it is also the house which gives us money from our profession. So if we want that money, then from writing or from any other creative art, then we have to have a good third house. The seventh house. Why do we need the seventh house? The seventh house is about a platform. In fact, the seventh house is required when we want to do a work which is our own. Seventh house is also the airy house of the natural zodiac. So it gives us a balance, it gives us an understanding as to what the general public may be wanting from our profession. And when we take our work on a public platform, we need a platform to voice our opinion, to showcase our ideas, and that can be gotten from the 7th house. Now, somebody may be interested in writing about mystery. Somebody may be interested in writing about social issues. Somebody may be interested in psychology. Somebody may be interested in writing about geography. Somebody may be interested in writing research papers, while others could take a choice of writing about the economics. So how do we see, or which houses do we see when we are talking on these issues? Economics purely would come from the 10th house and the 3rd house combination. When you want to write about research, these research is important, can be importantly seen, as we know that we talk about research, we see the 8th house. We talk about scandals, we see the 8th house. So when we come across somewhere where we see a lot of scandalous work being printed or written, the 8th house is also working in such a case, albeit not in a very beautiful manner. When we talk about people writing their experiences on their spiritual development, then the 12th house, the 8th house, and the 3rd house will be very active for such people, because the 12th house is the house which connects the divine, just like the 8th house. And even in divisional charts, when we talk about the D20, it is the D20 that is connecting you to the divine, which is an extension of the 8th house. So yes, the 8th house, the 12th house, and the 3rd house has to be connected somewhere for people who are going to write on divinity. For example, Wayne Dyer, he was an exceptional writer who would write on motivation and many such things, and he would take inspiration from his own things, and he would from his own experiences, and he would write things in a manner which were very easily understood by others. He believed in the cosmic laws. So he has a number of planets in his 3rd house in the Revati Nakshatra, which is a nakshatra of a guide, a philosopher, which we will be doing when we talk about nakshatras. Similarly, when we talk about somebody writing on what is dharmic, what is religious, what is on law, on jurisprudence, somebody trying to unearth the truth, then the 9th house is important. So when if you're a mystery novel writer, if you're a lawyer and you want to write books on law, if you're an accountant and you want to write on accounts, then the 10th house, as I said, or the 6th house would be important. But for the lawyers, for the mystery writers, your 9th lord, your 3rd lord, your 10th lord, if you're putting it on a public platform, should show some connect. And if the publication, the 5th house comes in, your books are widely read and they're widely spread. So why the 11th house now? Now we know that 12th house is important when we're doing something on research, when we're doing something on finding out motivational things. 12th house is also important for a writer. The 12th house is the house of isolation. The 12th house is, yes, it is the house of losses, but it can be transformed into the house of isolation, where you cut out from everything and connect it only with one thing, that is your ideas. As I have made a video on chair houses, I have said that the 3 and the 12 are important for creative growth. So that is the place when you connect with your divinity. And if the 3 and the 12th are connected, in that case, you write a lot on divinity. You also write a lot on finding out the truth. And generally, we see that the artists require that isolation to be able to generate those ideas. So you connect the conscience and you connect the superconscious and the subconscious to get beautiful ideas. Finally, the 11th house. Yes, a lot of houses are involved, but the 3 main houses that we feel are very important for a writer are the 3rd house, the 5th house, and the 12th house. Secondary houses, or when we become a professional writer, 10th house has to take its place for those who are interested in different form of writings. You could be 8th, 9th, or 11th, as the case may be. If you have a growth in that particular career and a connectivity with the primary writing houses, then the growth moves in that direction in your life. So money and meaning. Now let's come to the planets. Again, there are primary planets, and then there are planets which will support or will help. So Mercury is and Moon are the primary planets. Why so? Moon is about emotions. People who write emotional novels, people who write emotional books, people who write on psychology will generally tend to move towards the moon side. People who are creative, people who want to explore, they get a creative idea, they need to pen it down. The third house is the house of is the house of subconscious mind and creativity. So this is ruled by Mercury. The third house is also the house of your hands. So Mercury helps putting your creative ideas, be it on paper, like in any art form, or in writing. And when we talk about art forms, yes, Venus takes precedence, and writing, Mercury takes precedence. Then comes Mars. Is Mars important in writing? Yes, it is very important in writing. Why so? Because Mars talks about the ink, the vigor, the persistence, and the courage. Many a times people get beautiful ideas, but they're not persistent about their ideas. Their energies fitter out. They're not very passionate about putting those things in paper, or many a times not courageous enough to believe in themselves. A strong Mars gives you a belief in yourself and a persistent activity to do it all the while. Then when we come to the social media, if I am blogging, if I am putting a lot on the social media, yes, Rahu must be connected to one of these houses. The third house is the fifth house, the 12th house, there has to be a connect with the 10th house, the 10th lord, so that this Rahu can give a financially sound blogging system also. Then we come to planets that in today's age are important when we are writing it for a commercial purpose. Jupiter. Jupiter is the Karak for name and fame. It is the Karak of the 11th house. It is also the planet that gives you in plenty. So if you have a strong Jupiter aspecting or PSC, that is, it is in conjunction, it is in association, or it is placed in that particular house of 3, 5, 10, 12, then it beautifully gives you an ability. Aspecting those houses, conjunction with the lords, it gives you an ability to gain name and fame through this writing. Last but not the least, Venus. Venus is all about money. Venus-Mercury combination gives you good money from writing, because Venus is the lord of the second house of the Kalpurusha Kundali. Venus-Mars combination, because Mars is again the Karaka of the third house and Venus is money. So Venus-Mars, Venus-Mercury combination does the same for you. Let's have a good look at the chart of author Conan Doyle so far. So in the chart of author Conan Doyle, we see that there's the 12th lord and the third lord connect, Saturn, which is again the lord of the 10th house, sitting in the third house and aspecting the 12th house. A beautiful connect of 3, 10, and 12. The fifth lord is again in the 12th house and aspected by Saturn. So we see a strong connect with respect to the planets, with respect to the houses. When we move to the planets, in the case of planets, we see that Saturn, which is the Karaka for hard work, aspects the fifth lord, which is Mercury. And Saturn also aspects the third lord, Moon. So we see how beautifully author Conan Doyle was able to persistently work. If you read his lifestyle, you would see that he had to really work hard for his writings to be published, because the fifth lord is in the 12th house. There were a lot of losses also. There were a lot of times when he was rejected before being finally accepted for his writings. Now, we cannot stay far away from the Lagna. So let us have a good look at the Lagna, at the Nakshatras. The Hasta Nakshatra that I have found is very important when we talk about the writing. Hasta denotes the hand, and when it is in the sixth house of the natural, and in the sixth house of the natural zodiac, it gives you an ability to work carefully with the hands. I found for many a people, many a writers, well-known writers, they will have either moon, they have either their lagna, the third lord, the 10th lord, somewhere associated with Hasta to give you a strong career in writing. In fact, I've made an old video. There's an old video of mine with Hasta and writers on the YouTube. Chitra. Chitra is a nakshatra that gives you adventure and creativity, and it gives you an free limit to your thought, the free access to the universal thoughts, and it makes you as creative as possible, especially under conditions which at times can be really grueling. So that peer pressure, that those pressures that push you to do a good work can be found in Chitra. Anuradha Nakshatra is the nakshatra that gives you an ability to do a lot of research. So for those people who are interested in research, you should have a strong Anuradha Nakshatra. As I told you about Arthur Conan Doyle. Arthur Conan Doyle had, as I told you about Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer had 3 planets in Revati. Revati is a nakshatra that pushes people, inspires people to do good work, motivational speakers. He had 3 such planets in the nakshatra of Revati in the 3rd house. No wonder his audios and his books are so well read and so well known. Then we come to the nakshatra of Mrigasira. Mrigasira is a nakshatra that gives one the knowledge of trying to find things. So again, it is good for research. It is again good for people who write mystery novels or mystery books. It gives great a sense of search is very strong in these people, and it gives them an ability to find new clues. And if you look into the chart of Arthur Conan Doyle, you will also see that he also has this nakshatra working in spade for him. It is Mrigasira for him. Jupiter, the 11th lord, sits in Mrigasira nakshatra. Mars, which is his 12th lord, and the 7th lord is again in Mrigasira nakshatra. So these 2 nakshatras are again very, very important. We move on to Pushya nakshatra. For all those ones who want to write on structurization, who want to write on economics, for all those ones who want to write again on motivational topics, we have one Deepak Chopra ji. He has his moon in Pushya nakshatra, and we know what motivational things he can write, and beautifully he portrays the part of Brihaspati of that nakshatra. Another nakshatra that is very strong when we want to write just for our own selves. We are really off for at a certain point, and we want to pen things down, is the Adra nakshatra. It's a beautiful nakshatra for doing things just for your own self. So let us take in a few charts and see how it works out for us. When we talk about these charts, say the first instance I'd like to take is of Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore, Thakur has his moon in Revati Nakshatra, and we always know that he was one of the very guiding, compassionate persons who would want to write on social issues, inspire people to do good in spite of their hardships in life, and become a better human being. Again, his Mars is in Mrigasira Nakshatra. Mars is also his 9th lord. So he did write a lot. He would take instances from the villages, from the rural areas, rural Bengal, and he would write on social issues, what was correct and what was not, because Mars is also the lord of the 9th house for him, and Mars is also the lord of the 2nd house of ethics, moral values, and as such, Mars, represents writing. Again, his 5th lord, 5th house, because we said that 5th house was important. It would put one on pedestal when we talk about publications. In his 5th house is a exalted planet, which also is the lord of the 10th house. And I told you about the connect between the 5 and the 10. And there is an exchange between moon and Jupiter, the Lagna lord and the 5th lord, very closely, making him an extremely creative person, a writer par excellence, and one who understood social issues and left no stone unturned to write on such issues. We can also take the case of Jane Austen, where I would like to show you the power of the Chitra Nakshatra as well as the power of the, here you see Chitra Nakshatra for Jane Austen is in the Lagna, and Mars for her is in the 4th house of public connection. So here we see that her ability to write, to be creative, knew no bounds. Mercury again goes into the 3rd house, and Mercury is sitting again in Anuradha Nakshatra. So here she would research, she would see, she would understand, and she would finally put her things on paper. And so we see the 3rd connect of Mercury, Mars. Mars is again the 3rd lord in the 4th house with Sun, that is the international audience. And even ages after she's passed away, she's well known for her creativity. The Saturn for her is also sitting in the Chitra Nakshatra, which is the 5th lord, aspecting the 10th house and also aspecting the 10th lord. So we see that when the 5th lord has a connect with the 3rd lord, with the 3rd house, with the 10th lord, yes, you become internationally well known as a writer. And we also saw the same thing in case of Rabindranath Tagore. So writing is beautiful in art. Do continue, even if you do not have all these combinations, but there would be certain combinations in your chart to help you grow in this field. So do keep writing, and don't forget to write your comments on our channel.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.